Hey folks, I'm Chris, and I'm your Commander Mechanic. Recently on the channel, I shared one of my all-time favorite brews, an ultra-budget deck around Zada Hedron Grinder, at time of recording around $25. It's a vicious aggro deck built around going wide and pumping your board for quick combat victories. It is, in my opinion, one of the best budget options for Commander, and one of the most powerful decks that you can put together at that budget level. But a question struck me. What if I took that same deck and saw how far I can push that budget level? Not build a no-budget version of that deck, no. Build the same deck with the same 100 cards and see how expensive I could make that deck. Choose specific versions of cards and specific printings of cards to see if I can make a $25 budget deck that could be thousands of dollars. Well, I did exactly that. Thanks to my friends at MOXFIELD and Card Trader, I was able to find the most expensive versions of all the cards in this deck and put them all together to see if I could make a very expensive budget deck. And spoiler alert, we got up over $3,000 here. But that's not without any kind of restrictions. I made sure that I wasn't including any alpha, beta, unlimited cards, or in this case, Arabian Nights Mountains either. That kind of feels like cheating if we're trying to make an expensive budget deck. Why no Arabian Nights Mountains though, Chris? Well, because of a printing error with that set, mountains were included only on the rare sheet, and there are only about 30,000 in existence, making them all around $200 a piece for a basic land. With 33 mountains in the deck list, well, again, I feel like that's cheating. So join me as I take on one of the cheapest decks you could put together and make it the most expensive one you could ever hope to own. A quick deck tech. Zada Hedron Grinder wants us to be casting spells that target just her, which allows them to be copied across every other creature you control. So we want to go wide with creatures and tokens, then cast a monstrous rage to give everything +3/+1 and trample. With just a couple of tokens out, this is enough to take some players out of the game. But even better is getting to cast cantrips, cards that draw a card like Expedite or Renegade Tactics, targeting Zada with a few creatures out. Then you get to draw a card for each creature you control, sometimes for just a single mana. That's more than enough to fuel you to casting multiple spells that will make your board overwhelmingly aggressive. So the deck is filled with cards to make multiple bodies in order to help you go really wide, and a ton of cheap and efficient pump effects in order to turn a 1/1 into a 10/1 trampling first strike death machine. Turn them sideways and go to town. With that out of the way, how do we make this cheap deck the most expensive deck we can? First, let's make everything foil. This is the fastest way to turn a 5-cent card into a 50-cent card. For some of these spells with only one printing, it's the only way we're going to bring up their costs. Oddly enough, the only card that's cheaper in non-foil is Ornithopter of Paradise. That's right, the Commander Masters version in non-foil is the most expensive at a pretty impressive $3.30 right now, largely because all of the foil printings are notorious for curling beyond usability. Specifically choosing some foil versions adds quite a bit to our price tag as well if we're tactical about it. For instance, the original printing of Skirk Prospector in foil is $30, more than the entire original deck list for this single card. Same goes for Siege Gang Commander, which has its original printing in foil going for $60 right now, an absolutely insane jump in price from the 15 cents you can get a non-foil version for. The original Iron Mirror in foil is $20 for a Manadoro, but is much sought after for the proto-form foils of the new layouts from all the way back in Mirrodin. The foil version of Kerr Keep from its original printing, Time Spiral, is $25 versus the regular printing from the same set at about 75 cents, representing another massive jump for just some bling. And Assault Strobe Scars of Mirrodin printing, the only printing you can get in foil, is $14, where its original is about 60 cents. These are big gains and big jumps to the price of the deck just to show off a bit. Not to mention the Judge promo of Mishra's Factory is a smooth $27 dues right now, which is pretty ludicrous for a simple man land. And getting your hands on the old border foil printings of Dreadhorde Arcanist from Time Spiral Remastered will set you back $22. This card honestly doesn't see much play, but it'll still give your wallet a tap if you want one. From the same set, Teamer Battle Rage will set you back $11 for a card that normally costs under $1 as well. Some folks love their old bordered foils. Take a moment and let me know in the comments, do you like old border foils or new border foils better? But it's not just specific versions of foils that give us a big jump in price tag, no. Some secret layer printings of cards in the deck set us back a very pretty penny and gave me a shock while putting this together. Like the secret layer foil of Rograk, it is $23, largely thanks to the Kobold's popularity in CEDH, even though the original version of the card is less than a single dollar in the base list. The secret layer version of Krenko Tin Street Kingpin clocks in at $10 in foil 2 for a card with no other printings over $5. This kind of massive jump in price was surprising. Bark the Thumbless is another legend with an expensive secret layer version, again thanks to its popularity in CEDH, with its breakfast cereal version at $15. Along with the secret layer Abrade, a common, with a $20 secret layer version available. I get going out of your way to get these special versions, but that's ridiculous for a card that normally costs 5 cents. Lastly, the secret layer version of Chaos Warp, Chaos Theory featuring the amazing Jeff Goldblum, is a $17 card where the original is basically an auto-include in every red Commander precon ever. This already represents hundreds in just foils alone, but we want to get the price tag up into the thousands, so how do we do that? Well, fortunately we have serialized cards to lean back on as well. Thanks to Ravnica Remastered, there's a serialized version of Legion Warboss that, at a minimum, is $88 at the time of filming. Keep in mind that that's a minimum of $88, as certain numbers carry a much higher price tag associated with them. From the same set is a serialized Mizzix's Mastery 2 at a minimum of $83 for the sorcery that, in this deck, is an absolute game ender if overloaded with just a few spells in the graveyard. And let's not forget that our commander, Zada, has a serialized version thanks to the Multiversal Legends printings. The minimum you'll be paying for a serialized Zada is $85, but finding a sweet number, like the number 69, is going to cost you 3 to 4 times as much as that, all depending on how far you want to push this deck's cost. Heading into this experiment, I knew that the artifacts would be expensive, and they are, but I found a few surprises while putting together all of this pricing info. Unsurprisingly, the single most expensive card in the deck is Sol Ring. I chose the Kaladesh Invention version of the card, which on its own is a stunning $775. This makes it the single biggest investment in a single card, but is also the most beautiful addition to the deck in my opinion. However, second to that is the 9th edition Felwar Stone. For a long time this was my personal white whale, on my to-get list at $155. For the longest time it was the only foil printing of the card, making it highly sought after. That is, until Commander Masters gave us a full art foil for less than $10. The 7th edition Fire Diamond clocks in at $35 as well. No wonder since, at the time, this was the only way to get a 9th edition card in black border. Fun fact for newer players, core sets used to be white border only, except for foil versions of the cards, which were printed in black border. Very exclusive bling at the time. And perhaps the biggest surprise was Arcane Signet. This Commander staple's newest printing, the Future Sight border foil from Mystery Booster 2, is an incredible $97 at the time of recording. That makes it not only the newest printing of any of these cards, but also the most expensive entry from the last few years. Now, for those of you doing some rough math at home, you might figure out that we're around the $2,000 mark for the deck so far, and I told you that we'd get this up over $3,000. So where does that last push come from? Well, I told you I wouldn't cheat and include the most expensive versions of Mountains, but that's not to say that I didn't find some still expensive versions of Mountains to include. What I discovered is that there are some really expensive, really exclusive lands out there that aren't APAC or Guru lands, like these relatively recent Year of the Dragon promo Mountains. These lands are, wait for it, $44 each, and were available exclusively as promos in Asia. This means they're hard to find and highly coveted, and we need 33 of them. That means that our mountains alone add $1,475 USD to the total price tag of this deck. When I said Sol Ring was the single most expensive card in the deck, I chose my words carefully. That brings this fully pimped out version of the deck, which clocked in originally at 23 USD on TCG Player, to a total of, drumroll please, $3,265.56 US. That's a hell of an investment to go and show off a blingy budget deck for. Have you ever foiled out a deck yourself? What's the single most expensive card you've included in your Commander decks? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to check out both the budget and the blinged version of this deck, head over to my sponsor MOXFIELD. MOXFIELD is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to see all my brews all year long, all the time. With search versioning tools to select the cheapest or most expensive versions of each cards, it's easy to brew to your budget preferences. Be sure to follow my profile while you're there. And if you're looking to pick up any cards, cheap or expensive, head over to my sponsor Card Trader. Use my promo code right now for 5% off your first order of cards from any TCG. Their massive global marketplace makes it easy to find the cards you're looking for, in the treatments you're looking for, in the languages you're looking for, all hassle-free. Lastly, if you're looking to sell off cards, head to Card Conduit, the easiest way to sell your cards from Magic, Pokemon, or any other game. You can ship them unsorted to Card Conduit and they'll send you a check. Easy as that. It's the quickest way to sell extra copies or just old stuff you have sitting around. Try them out now. And if you want to see any cool brews from my channel, check out these other videos here. If you're a fan and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, you have to do it now. But as always folks, good luck and have fun.